Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome into another installment of our Keep Boone Healthy Community Information Channel. I am David Jackson, President and CEO of the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce. With us, a good friend and many times past contributor, Watauga County Schools Superintendent Dr. Scott Elliott, fresh out of the school system's convocation earlier today. More on that in a minute. But Dr. Elliott, welcome back to the program. It seems like we ought to just name this thing after you. You've been here a few times.
No, I think you can do better than that. But thank you. It's good to see you, David.
A lot of news coming out of the Watauga County Board of Education meeting last night in regards to masking procedures for the coming school year. What can you tell us about that meeting and what transpired?
Yeah, big news. But what I can tell you is that 2 weeks ago, the board, as is probably well known in the community, voted by a vote of 3-2. Very, very unusual to have a split vote on anything among this Board of Education, but voted 3-2 at that time to make masks optional for students and staff in the coming school year. But let's go back 2 weeks to when we had 13 cases of COVID in the community. It's more than tripled now. And so what they also said 2 weeks ago was that they were all very concerned that they would all continue to monitor local conditions and particularly how COVID was affecting school-age children, and that they reserve the right to change their decision. And guess what? That's what happened. So I appreciate that they, were not being ideological or political about it. They were trying to be pragmatic about it. You can argue whether or not even 2 weeks ago that was the right decision, but they felt that it was. And for every day for the last 2 weeks, they've been asking for updates and information, which we've been able to draw upon folks like your other former guests, Jen Green with the health department, our local pediatricians that we work so closely with, and folks at the state level. And I think from the meeting last night, where they voted unanimously 5-0 to start the year with masks required of students, staff, and visitors while inside, that they felt like the local metrics are just going in the wrong direction, and that what we're trying to do right now is to keep our students healthy and to keep our schools open. I also just want to note that I think we all noted, and we're somewhat surprised but pleased that the board member who made the motion to make that decision was Steve Combs, and the board member who seconded that motion, Mr. Jason Cornett, were two of the three who previously voted against it. So they, are not making easy decisions, not making popular decisions, but doing what they feel is in the best interest of the school system. And so here we are. And a lot will be different from last year, but a lot we'll continue to do. And we'll just take our direction from the Board of Education and start school year coming this Monday, the 16th, right now with an indoor mask requirement.
We'll get into some of those operational conversations here in just a moment, but going back to the board meeting for just one moment, you mentioned that 2 weeks ago the board said they reserve the right to continue to monitor things and make alternate decisions if they needed to. What was their directive in that way last night? What is a time frame that maybe they were looking at to provide further information, or did they leave that somewhat open-ended as we have seen things change very rapidly and fluidly here over the last few weeks?
I asked that very question, David, when Board Member Combs made his motion, and they made it very clear that they are not making this decision time-bound. They are not committing themselves to regularly revisiting it or voting on it again by a certain day, that they will continue to observe what is happening in the community, but starting Monday, we'll actually begin to see what really happens in school. Are we having secondary transmissions? Or are we actually preventing secondary transmissions? What effect is the masking having? And then be able to make decisions from that. I think it's a safe assumption to make from the decision 2 weeks ago that they aren't eager to have everyone wearing masks. I mean, it isn't we're not where they want or wish that we were. And so I believe that when we get to the point where local current metrics and conditions in our schools would support safely revisiting that decision, that they will. And my hope is that the current decision with the masks will help us to prevent things from getting worse. I was asked this morning, is the next step closing our schools and going back to remote instruction? And I said, absolutely not. It is the last thing that any of us want. And I think we saw last year that by doing things safely, we can keep schools open. But I think that the board will, every day board members are calling and asking me. I update them weekly with very specific metrics for them to review. It is top of mind for them right now. And they'll continue to monitor it. And when they feel that the time is right, they'll revisit it. I have to say, I'm also noticing in emails and in the news this morning that other school systems around the state that previously had made the same decision are now also revisiting it as they are seeing what's happening in their communities as well.
And that kind of brings up the next question that I wanted to ask, and that's kind of like, what is that state trend, or do you foresee NCDHHS or any other partners that typically weigh in on these things continuing to update guidance as we get closer to the start of school, which, as you mentioned, is a week away, or do you see this kind of, as you mentioned, also somewhat of an untimed situation, and that updates and
Right.
changes will be made as the data suggests they should be?
I believe that that's true, that so far throughout all of this, the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services has really followed the lead of the federal CDC in implementing prevention strategies for schools. So the North Carolina DHHS toolkit for schools really reflects the most current guidance from the CDC. Timing is everything, or everything is timing. The CDC made their announcement of changes of recommendations for schools the very day after the Board of Education first made their decision. So, we're prepared to continually change and pivot and adjust as we need to. If I had a crystal ball, I would say we're not going to see any additional changes this week, and I don't foresee the governor reissuing a statewide mask mandate until there is political agreement among the governor and other state elected leaders, particularly in the legislature, that is necessary. Agree or disagree about the governor and the state's emergency measures or masking specifically, there just isn't the political will or the political support right now to have a statewide mask mandate. So that's why you see these local boards of education now thrust into the spotlight of making these decisions locally. And the decisions, to repeat myself, the decisions that we might have made 2 or 3 weeks ago are now coming under reevaluation as conditions continue to change.
And I think we've seen that evidenced not only by local school boards, but other governing bodies throughout the state. We saw that with the town of Boone last week, App State as well, making their own decisions and their own protocol adjustments. So we'll continue to keep you as updated on those out there and keep Boone healthy land as we possibly can. So let's take it forward about 15 hours from last night. You've got a busy day here. Get done with the Board of Education meeting last night, and you convene your entire staff over at Watauga High School for the annual convocation to get the academic year started. What was your message to your staff this morning?
Well, we have a convocation at the beginning of every year where we bring all of our staff together. We have 11 schools now, 11 different school staffs, and it's the only time during the year that we can all be together and to share a common message and to celebrate together. Last year, we weren't able to do it. We did it electronically with the pre-recorded messages. This year, we did a modified version of that with everyone in masks, of course, with the announcement from last night, but also the auditorium, but also overflow space as a classroom, the media center at the high school, the gymnasium, so that people could socially distance and to be safe about it. We always have a theme every year, and the theme this year is stronger together. Actually, that might sound a little bit trite, but we had one of our staff members last year who designed a T-shirt, and all the school staff members could buy one, and it had that message on it: "We are stronger when we are together, stronger together." So we use that as the theme of convocation. And I talked with our staff about the ways in which we as a school family are stronger when we work together. But David, we also talked about our work with the local business community. And thank you again to you and your staff and the board of directors of the chamber for recognizing some of the work of our school staff members. The Community Service Award that was given to our child nutrition and transportation teams last year, delivering over 250,000 meals in about 4 months. So we recognize them in front of all of their colleagues today. And also the Chamber's Woman of the Year Award, which last year went to Yolanda Adams, our community relations coordinator, our family relations coordinator. And she's well loved among the school family, and so people celebrated with her. We also had a very special moment where we gave what our Board of Education calls the Servant's Heart Award. You might have seen pictures in the local media about that, where the Board of Education gives an award to a staff member or a parent, a volunteer who really goes above and beyond the call of duty. And so in keeping with our Stronger Together message today, we presented in front of our entire 720 employee team our Servant's Heart Award to Sheriff Lynn Hageman and the Watauga County Sheriff's Office for all that they do for our schools, certainly, and also honoring the commitment that they give to the community and all that they've experienced this year. And so that was also a special moment for our team to be able to show support for them. I also shared with the staff that we can do hard things. And we've shown that we're ready for whatever comes our way. We accept that change is now the norm, and that the more that we give, the more that we serve, the more we receive back. And every single one of those folks, 720 of them, are in this to make life better for kids in our community. And so, in a very safe and COVID kind of way, it was a great time to celebrate.
Well, and great timing as well with such an important announcement last night, and being able to immediately gather everybody and kind of set that expectation. I'm sure from a leadership perspective, that was something that might have been tough to pull off back to back, but a very well received time and message by your staff today. So speaking on behalf of parents who are trying to dust off the coffee mugs and the whistles or whatever else we need to get people out the door on time, next week we start back to school. So many different operational things have gone into administering school over the last year and a half. It's actually hard to remember what normal is. So where are we in terms of the way it used to be, the way COVID made it, and the happy medium in between? How should we expect day number one of school to look next week?
Well, it's going to be a great day on Monday with the start of school all across the county. And I think that it will look a lot like the way school used to be, except we'll all be wearing our masks when we're indoors together. We implemented a lot of strategies last year that we thought were going to help us to maintain health and safety and keep schools open, that after a year of doing them, we realized probably weren't necessary. So we're not as concerned this year about children picking up COVID from crayons that they might share with each other, or using their locker or standing at their locker for a few minutes, or necessarily all walking on different sides of the hallway together and passing each other for just seconds at a time. So we're going to kind of loosen up some of those things, but we'll continue to do many other things that we know work. When parents come through the car rider line, we won't be stopping, taking temperatures, asking those questions in the screening protocol. Though we do ask our parents to continue to do those symptom screenings at home. That more than anything prevented the spread of COVID in our schools last year. Make sure kids have their face masks, that their face masks are clean and dry and washed. Maybe go ahead and start buying those now. They, at least for a while there, they were on sale. You could just about get these for free just about anywhere. And for sure, if parents need them, we have thousands of cloth masks that we can give away to our families. But so you might not see all of the teachers standing down the sidewalk doing all of those screenings, be able to drop your students off or put them onto the school bus. They do have to wear masks on the bus. That is actually a federal regulation. They're going to come into school. We're not dividing the kids up. We don't have half of them coming for 2 days a week or things like that. So you'll see full class sizes. We'll still be trying to keep them, as socially distanced as possible. And we will be mindful of their, like where they sit and their seating charts and things like that in the event that we do, as we saw last year, have a child come in who later we find out was COVID positive. I suppose a silver lining, if you will, about the face mask requirement is that the CDC guidance changed to say that if people are together and they are wearing masks and one of them turns out to be COVID positive, even if they were in close contact, if everybody was wearing the mask, they don't have to quarantine. The non-sick folks have to quarantine. Well, that's huge. I might not like wearing my mask, but I sure want to still be in school and not have to go home for 14 days. So, the mask is going to be a huge part of that. With plenty of mask breaks, plenty of opportunities to go outside, make sure your children have a water bottle. But really, we're kind of hoping it's going to be school more like more like normal. Again, I mentioned it earlier last year with all of those symptom screenings in the car rider line. Very few times did we detect an illness. It was always when the child woke up and said, my throat's kind of sore, or I can't taste something, or I don't feel too good, that the parents kept the children home, took them to the doctor, got them tested, or maybe they knew that someone in the family was sick and they kept them home. That's the greatest thing that parents can do going into this school year. But we're back to field trips. We're back to assemblies. We're going right into athletic seasons here coming up. And we're going to do it safely, but we want our students to be able to experience as normal a school year as they possibly can.
I know, speaking of parents, many folks in this community are somewhat of the backbone for your staff in providing those volunteer hours, visiting the schools regularly, whether it's to bring all the things my kids left at home or to provide some support in the classroom on occasion. Will those operations return to normal as well?
Yes, they will. And I'm glad that we'll be welcoming back volunteers, and teachers so much appreciate those opportunities for parents to come in and help out at lunchtime, or to be a helper in the classroom, or to go along with field trips, things like that. Yes, absolutely. But just, we ask people to be mindful of these safety protocols. If you come to the school, bring a mask, and be prepared to wear a mask. Certainly, go through our normal volunteer approval process we do to make sure that we screen and do background checks and things like that on folks who are going to come in, with folks who are going to come in and spend time with our students. We'll continue to be very careful about our use of our college interns and student teachers and things like that, but they're all going to be welcomed back as long as we follow these safety procedures. And I just want to say, and probably most of your viewers here understand this, which is, I think I don't know about you, but back in July, I probably couldn't find my face masks. I was ready to be done with it, and I had to dig them back out and wash them up. There are people who will not be happy about this decision, and who may want to go to their school and not to cooperate, or not be as kind or as cooperative as we would want them to be. I please ask for people to continue to be patient and cooperative with your school staff. They didn't make this decision. The secretariat, who's manning the front door, or the principal in the school, they didn't make this decision. They're just trying to do the best that they can. And I would ask that parents, let's all work together to try to support our school staff members, and to do what we can to keep schools open. But yes, we absolutely welcome them to come back and join in.
Very well said. And as we close up here, we always talk through the chamber lens about the fact that school is a business up here, whether it's Watauga County Schools, one of our largest employers, Appalachian State University, the largest employer in our community. So what happens in terms of school operations is very real and felt in a very real way from an economic standpoint here in our community. That said, I know you're one of the most attractive employers in this area as well. What can you tell us about your recruiting, if you will, and bringing teachers in? What has that conversation been like, as I'm sure potential employees look at school systems a lot differently than maybe they did a year and a half ago, in terms of how do you care for your staff? How do you put them in a position to be able to do what they do as safely as possible? What were some of those conversations like?
Yeah, they were great conversations, and sometimes difficult conversations, as we talked amongst ourselves about how do we operate in this new world where people are not sure if they want to go into the teaching profession. Last year wasn't the easiest year for our educators. Are our college students still choosing this as a profession, or in a world where parents and teachers and everyone can choose, they have more things to choose from than ever before. How do we remain competitive? Well, I'm pleased to say that, I think I mentioned earlier, we hired 74 new folks this year out of over 650 applications. We were able to hire the best of the best folks who applied for our teaching jobs to be able to work with our students. And that isn't just about the school system, though. I think that we treat people well. We treat people as professionals. We, as an employer, we have competitive salaries, not as competitive as other professional fields, but among other school systems, and just the quality working conditions in our school system. But it is really more about the community. That in an era of COVID, when people could have the flexibility to go to a place of safety, or to a place of rest, or a place for bringing their families back together, they often chose Boone and Watauga County. And if you can do that and make that choice, then why not make the choice to just uproot and go live your dream somewhere? And so we had a lot of folks that we hired who said, we've always loved this area, and this past year made us realize that, this is how we want to live. And so they were able to come up here, and that speaks to the support that our community gives to our schools. It speaks to the quality, the environment here. It speaks to our university environment, the healthcare that we have here. And we also work a lot as a business with our other large employers: Samaritan's Purse, the hospital, the university, the town of Boone, particularly the police department, sheriff's office, and other organizations, to try to recruit families to come here. So very often one of us will interview someone who that person has a partner or spouse who's also looking for a job. We talk to each other. We try as best we can to give career opportunities to whole families so that they can relocate here and work together. And it just turns out to be a win-win for our entire community.
So that dovetails nicely into the final point. You talk often, and that was just a great illustration what you just said about how the school system here, Watauga County Schools, being part of a larger community, and it takes that larger community to understand how we all work together to allow us to function at our most efficient levels. With all of that said, getting ready to enter a new school year in this COVID environment that we still find ourselves in, what's your message to the community at large in terms of how the best way to keep schools open and thriving can be as we start the new year next week?
I think I've said it here before, which is, don't take your local public schools for granted. And we're not perfect, but I ask people to sometimes tune out the noise, turn off the television or the political entertainment, and just think about your own local public schools, and know that we are your friends, your neighbors, your folks who go to church with you, or whose children are on the t-ball team together. We're all working together for the common good of the community, and we want our community to come in and be a part of what we do, volunteer or donate, or just words of appreciation and support. I think we have a really special thing going here in our community, and our schools reflect that. And we just ask for people's support. Also, as I always do, just want to say a thank you to the entire team of Watauga County Schools for their hard work. As I said to them in Convocation today, they all are incredible people. They could be choosing to do anything, and they are choosing to do this. And I'm incredibly grateful to them. I'm incredibly grateful to the community.
Well, we are incredibly grateful for your insight and your transparency through all of this over the course of our first chat about it to now. We appreciate getting good and truthful information from the school system that our community can plan around and certainly be supportive of. So best of luck with the start of school on Monday. I'm sure I'll see you in the Parkway line. I get to navigate two lines this year, so I'll be comparing and contrasting quite a bit. We'll see which one offers the best coffee and continental breakfast selection on day one.
No pressure. Yeah. Look forward to seeing you there.
Okay, thank you.